Hello, I'm Mark Lewchik. I'm tying some traditional New England streamer flies for trout and salmon. I'm going to be tying a gray ghost. It's a little over 100 years now, so I'll give you a little brief history of the fly. It came out in 1924. It was tied by Carrie G Stevens up on Upper Dam, Maine. She had won a fishing contest that year, or not won, she was second place actually, and became very in demand for this pattern. There's controversy whether or not she actually caught the brook trout on it or not. They say she caught it on a Rangley favorite, which was a precursor to the gray ghost. It wasn't quite as fancy. That all being said, it really boomed her business and the fly was in hot demand. So, without any more, get busy. Okay, the gray ghost was tied to represent a rainbow smelt. The rainbow smelt are fairly long baitfish. So I'm tying this on an 8X long number 4 hook. It's a Mike Martinek hook from Gaelic Supreme. I don't believe they're available any longer. I'm going to start with white thread. This is 70 denier. You could use a little heavier if you like. I just keep it on the light side. I'm going to cover the hook shank for a foundation. And the body's going to be made out of orange floss and tinsel, silver tinsel. There's debate as to what color Carrie actually used for her original gray ghost. Some people think it was a darker orange, a lighter orange. I tend to like this marigold orange color. I've seen, live smelt in my hand, and they've got a fairly light coloration to them. So we get a piece of that. We'll get some tinsel going here. I'm going to cut a notch in the tinsel like a V to tie it in with. I want to tie the silver, so I have the gold facing me, so when I tie it in, it's reversed. Oops. Let me get that in there. I'm going to make a tag with 3 or 4 wraps right around where between the barb and the point of the hook. I'll just tie it off with 1 or 2 wraps. Get it out of my way. I'm going to advance the thread back to the eye of the hook. Makes a nice foundation, and it kind of covers up the dark hook a little so the floss doesn't have all that dark hook bleeding through underneath when it gets wet. You can counter rotate your thread to keep it flatter. I'm going to put 2 layers of floss so it won't be too bulky anyway. You're probably not going to notice it. Okay. So now right behind the eye I'm going to tie in the floss. Just pull it back till it's short. I'm going to start wrapping. I'm going to bring it back up to the eye. Covered any bald spots. Tie it off. Trim it. I leave a little space. I don't go quite to the eye. You're going to tie in some bucktail there and some throat material. Now I'm going to take my tinsel and make nice ribs, just evenly spaced. Tie that off. Okay. Now for the throat. Carrie usually used bucktail. Fine, straight bucktail is really good. Or she would sometimes even use goat hair. Now, she would also use peacock herl for a lateral line. On some of her flies, you'll see that tied in and then the white bucktail underneath. Or she sometimes tied it on top. I tend to put it on top, so I'm just going to go with the throat now of the white bucktail, belly, throat area. I'm just going to kind of hand even it up. Get the tips kind of aligned, pull out any stragglers. Those are a little wonky, get those out of there. Okay. Just pre-trim it. Tie it in. What I tend to do sometimes, if you want to make this very durable, is take your super glue. It's just regular old brush-on super glue. You can paint a little on your thread. That way you don't glop up the whole fly. Just wrap your thread through the bucktail a few times. That really makes it lock right in. Next thing would be a throat out of schlappen, white schlappen feathers from a chicken. Get some white schlappen material, pull out some fibers. Length is up to you. I kind of like a fairly long one. Put it in here. If you can get the natural curve of the schlappen to lay with the bucktail, that's all the better. You want it to kind of curve naturally this way, not away from it. That looks good. And on bigger flies, I've even seen some people put in 2. So you can put in a slightly shorter throat. This just fills up the bottom a little bit. Okay. The next thing that she tied, she would put golden pheasant crests. And if you look at a smelt underneath, their gill area underneath is bright, kind of golden yellow. I've actually held them in my hand when I've caught them, and it's very obvious to see that. So put a few golden pheasant crests. I like to put more than one because they don't really have a lot of material on them. They're pretty sparse. So I put 2 or 3. And I'm just trying to get them to get the curves to line up together, which isn't always easy. And again, I'm going to take a little bit of glue, put it on my thread. I find that helps hold these in place because they want to roll around on you. I can wet my fingers and stroke them together, get them lined up. You want the nice curve to go with the schlappen there. Put them on there. That looks nice. Now glue's going to keep them from shifting around on you. Just carefully come in and trim the butts out. And that's the belly of the whole fly. Next I'm going to put some peacock herl on top. I got a couple of stray bucktails here I'm going to take out and kind of roll to the top. Okay, I'm just using some peacock here. Usually they use 4 or 5. On a small fly I might use 3. There's 3 there. Let's get another one. Or maybe a couple. Again, I'm going to try to match the tips up. And if you can get them to get the curve to go together, that's all the better. Put them on top. It's going to be about the same length as everything else, give or take. Maybe a touch longer than the bucktail. I can pull them back. Okay. The next thing to tie in is a golden pheasant crest again, but a longer one. Let's see if we can find a good size one here. It's not bad. What I tend to do with these is rub my nail on them to kind of flatten them out a little bit. They've got a wild curve to them. And these can be really tricky to tie in. They want to roll all over the place. So a lot of times I'll put a little glue there. This time I'll just touch the top. Just put a little dab there. You can also flatten the stem with a pair of pliers if you like. That helps. Just going to tack it in there. There we go. Right over the back. Okay. That's the fly part of it. Now we got to build the wings. And I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to let this sit. And the wings are constructed separately, tied in later. So I'm done with this thread. I'm going to be using black from now on after I get the wings assembled. Put these away. Okay. So now we got 2 and 2 here. Hiding under the vise. Okay, the next step here is to glue the wings together. And I'm using just hard as nails, or you could use regular head cement. But what I do is I leave it out a while and let it get thicker. I let some of the thinner evaporate so it's a little thicker and gunkier. And I'm not using much at all. I'm just going to brush a little bit down the stem. And I'm going to take the other feather. I'm going to put it right on top. Now Carrie, when she did these years ago, would do the same method. She would use old cement and glue them together. And it's said that they swim better. The head is solidified a little bit, and you get more of a swimming action out of the soft back part of the fly. And this keeps all the components together a little better, makes them more durable as well. So now I've got 2 and 2 here. I've got some golden pheasant cheeks here, and they're going to go on as well. I'm going to do the same thing. Put a little head cement on there. Put this down. Sometimes when you add the head cement to the second time, the first one starts to let go a little bit because of the thinner. So now you can see there's a wing assembly there. Let's see, I need a little more there. Yep, that one let go because it got refreshed with thinner. Come on. Okay. And if you have it, the original called for some jungle cock nails. So we'll get a couple of those. Two of those guys. And again, I'm just going to take them and glue them right on top of the silver pheasant cheeks. Get the short stuff off of here. Okay. Again, just brush a little bit of cement on there. If you have split nails, you could also put them on with a glue. It helps keep them together. Okay. Some people will actually make a bunch of wing assemblies, sit down and tie a bunch, or I shouldn't say tie, but construct a bunch of wing assemblies ahead of time. You know, you might make 6 or 8 of them and have them ready, and then let them dry. And then you could go and tie the rest of the flies. So, squeeze that together. Okay. Give those a second to dry while I get my black thread. Okay. Now that I have my wing assemblies constructed, I'm going to put black thread on here. Tie on some fine black thread. I'm using 16-0 Vivus. I like using really fine thread. It just keeps the bulk down. I'm going to take one wing assembly at a time. And I'm going to put them up here. And you want to kind of have them on the side, but on the top at the same time, if you understand what I'm saying. They're not right on the side. They're kind of riding high, but they're on the side a little bit. It's kind of hard to explain exactly what I'm saying. And you got to get them to lie in just so. That one's a little cockeyed. There we go, that's better. And you take the opposite side, put it up there, get them even. And they should actually come together like praying hands, you know, kind of tent-like. So, and notice the tips don't go way, way back. I have it just slightly past the bend. Landlocked salmon especially are noticeably good at short striking, so you don't want them too far back. And I'm going to just finish off the head. Carrie Stevens' trademark on her fly, she would tie on gray ghost, she would tie a black thread head with a red band down the middle. And some people say, oh, you shouldn't copy her trademark. I think it looks good. I'll do it on some flies, some I don't. But it's all up to you. You just take another fine thing of red thread and make a band in the middle and finish it off and finish your head. Just trying to coat everything nice and even here. The nice thing about this fine thread is you don't come out with monster heads. So I'm going to just whip finish it. And you can finish the fly a number of ways. You can just use a couple of coats of hard as nails, or if you like, you can use bone dry, which I'll do a lot of times to make it faster. It makes a nice smooth head as well. So this is Solarez bone dry, and I just give it a thin coat. Oops, I got one little thread out of whack there with my nail. Then after I do that, I'll give it a coat of nail polish and let it sit. I like to seal it with the hardest nails. This isn't the thick stuff I use to glue the feathers. It's thinned out, hard as nails. Same stuff, just more thinner. Makes a nice glossy head. And that's it.